In the south of Rome, there's a neighborhood full of restaurants and nightclubs. And rising above it is a hill. Grass on top. Trees scattered across it. It takes about 20 minutes to walk all the way around it. In a city built on famous hills, nobody looks at it twice. But this one isn't a hill at all. Underneath the grass, it is 100% artificial. It's a garbage dump, and it's about 2,000 years old. It's roughly 150 feet tall and made of one single thing: 53 million broken clay jars. This is Monte Testaccio, and the story of how it got here accidentally became the most detailed record of the Roman Empire we have. To understand the mountain, you have to understand what Rome ran on. Not just grain, not just wine, olive oil. Romans used it for everything: cooking, lamps, medicine, bathing. One historian compared it to what oil is to us today. The empire needed an enormous, constant supply of it. And Rome itself didn't produce nearly enough. So it came by ship, mostly from the province of Baetica, southern Spain. And it traveled in the shipping container of the ancient world, the amphora, a big ceramic jar, made cheap, made by the million. Ships arrived at the Tiber, the oil was poured into smaller containers. The oil went out to the city, and then Rome had a problem. What do you do with millions of enormous empty jars? Now, the Romans were excellent recyclers, genuinely. Amphorae got reused constantly, as drain pipes, as flower pots. Broken pottery got crushed and mixed into concrete as building material. Roman concrete is still standing today, partly thanks to recycled trash. But the olive oil jars were different. They had a fatal flaw. Oil soaked deep into the porous clay walls and never came out. Over time, that trapped oil turned rancid. The jars stank. They were greasy, smelly, and impossible to clean. The Spanish oil jars were also thick-walled and awkwardly shaped, hard to break down into useful pieces. So, the most reusable civilization in the ancient world had a category of trash that simply could not be reused, and it arrived by the shipload every year. Their solution was to designate a spot near the warehouses and pile them up, which sounds like every landfill in history, just a heap. But when archaeologists excavated it, they found something surprising. Monte Testaccio isn't a heap at all. It's a structure. It was built deliberately in a series of level terraces. Each terrace had retaining walls, made of nearly intact amphorae. Those whole jars were packed with shards to anchor them in place, creating a wall. Then the space behind it was filled with more shards. Then they'd repeat it, layer by layer, each slightly smaller than the last, rising like a stepped pyramid made of garbage. The jars were broken in a controlled way, not smashed randomly. They were stacked carefully to reduce the risk of landslides. Layers of small debris formed paths, walkways for the workers. And to deal with the smell of all that rancid oil, they sprinkled lime over the shards to neutralize it. Specialists suspect the whole site was run by a dedicated city unit. This wasn't a dump. It was managed waste infrastructure 2,000 years ago, and it's still standing. But here's the twist that makes this more than an engineering story. Roman amphorae weren't blank. They were labeled, stamped by the workshop that made them, and painted with detail. Those painted inscriptions are called tituli picti, and they recorded a remarkable amount of information. Where the oil came from, the weight of the contents, the names of the people who weighed and documented it, the name of the merchant who exported it. In other words, every jar in that mountain is a receipt. 53 million receipts, stacked in dated layers. Rome's garbage accidentally became the most detailed economic archive of the entire ancient world. Because of it, we know things we could never learn from monuments. In the 2nd century, at its peak, Rome threw away about 130,000 jars every single year. Each jar held around 70 liters, which means Rome was importing at least 7.5 5 million liters of olive oil annually, just of Spanish oil. Just what ended up in this one dump. The forum tells you what Rome wanted you to think of it. The garbage tells you how Rome actually worked. And there's something uncomfortable buried in this story. We think of landfills as a modern sin, something we invented. But ceramic takes thousands of years to break down, just like plastic. Every ancient site on Earth is littered with pottery that refuses to decay. In fact, archaeologists date sites by that indestructible trash. The Romans left behind a mountain of good quality rubbish. The real difference between them and us isn't the idea, it's the scale. Rome took about 250 years to build a mountain out of 53 million jars. We produce that kind of volume in a fraction of the time. Monte Testaccio isn't a warning about them, it's a mirror. So think about what actually survived from ancient Rome. The temples they built to last forever are ruins. The statues of emperors are missing their heads. But the trash? The trash is a mountain, intact, terraced, readable. The thing they never meant to preserve is what preserved them. Every civilization leaves behind more garbage than glory. And in the end, that's often what tells the truest story. The Romans threw it away. 2,000 years later, we're still reading it. If you love the history hiding in plain sight, this is your channel. Subscribe to Fiuzaverse, and let's keep digging where nobody's looking.